Hey there, I'm Ashley, and this is New Day with Ashley. If you're looking for inspiration to make a difference and create lasting impact, then you're in the right place. Get ready to be encouraged by the stories of my guests who have taken risks, overcome challenges, and created opportunities. It's time to make the most of your new day. Today's guest is a passionate entrepreneur. Jake Joraanstad is the co-founder and CEO of Bushel, an independently owned and operated leading software company providing solutions for the agriculture value chain. Bushel has helped power over 2,000 grain facilities, reaching over 60,000 farmers across the United States and Canada.
I grew up in Raleigh, North Dakota.
Okay.
And my dad is a banker, my mom's a nurse. And that's a pretty typical answer, probably. I would assume, if not a farmer. And grandparents on both sides have farms, but I had never been in my life, I don't think I had heard the word entrepreneur. I don't think I thought about startups or anything like that. And I got to college and I thought about ideas. I always had ideas. And to be fair, there's a lot of ideas out there.
Right.
It's about execution, right? But had a lot of ideas, tried some of them in college with my friends. There was a couple after school programs I was a part of. ICE, Innovation, Creativity, and Entrepreneurship was the first time I learned about entrepreneurial work and building your own company. And I had a bunch of ideas. So we'd write our ideas down, we'd build plans. And eventually I realized, I think I want to do this. And the other challenge was I couldn't get a job. My internships were minimal. I tried to get internships and my grades were a little bit lower than they should have been. So I couldn't get certain internships that I'd like to be at. John Deere wouldn't give me an interview at all. Microsoft.
And what was your major?
Computer engineering.
Okay.
I mean, that's my only excuse is that it's hard. But I wasn't good at math. That was my real challenge. So computer engineering, trying to work at John Deere, which is the normal path. A lot of guys go electrical and computer engineering. They'll go work at John Deere or Microsoft. And I really wanted to work at Google, but I couldn't even get them to give me an interview either. But I did Microsoft. I took my GPA off my resume. Sure. Submitted to Microsoft. Nobody asked me about my GPA once it wasn't on the resume, which was awesome because I'd been putting it on there and I wasn't getting interviews, and so
they never ask about your GPA. I found that out.
Yeah, they actually
no one
don't
asks
care.
about it.
Yeah,
they don't.
And 2.7 was my GPA.
Okay, you didn't have to tell us, but okay.
We can cut that if you'd like.
Look at where you are now. Yeah, we can cut that.
Over 4.5 years, 2.7. That means sometimes it was worse than that.
Sure.
So I tried to get an interview. Microsoft gave me an interview in Fargo. And then I was made to second round, and I flew to Seattle, Redmond, where they're going to do this software development engineering test. And so went up there, did the interview, didn't get the job. Oh. And so this was normal for me, trying to figure out what I could do.
And that was for the internship.
That was just trying to get an internship because I needed to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And then I realized I could build my own company, and I started on that path, and eventually got an internship. But then I got laid off from that company because they laid off 20 people within a year of my job there. And then I'm like, wow, I'm going to do this startup thing, and that's what sent me down the path. So
was that one of your ideas that you had been working on?
My idea was I had a lot of bad ideas, I would say, or at least hard to execute. Here, I'll give you an example. One of the ideas. Do you remember the Doritos commercials during the Super Bowl where they were the ideas came from crowdsourcing? People were putting their best ideas in.
Exactly.
And then Doritos took that idea and made it into a Super Bowl commercial. So that was really cool. And we're like, what if we built a website where big brands could put their campaign requirements in, and they could source ideas from creative people around the country for those ideas. They could submit their best ideas or their videos, and then we'd help source the best 5, and we present them to the company, and then they'd pay for the work. That was our idea.
Yeah.
We call it Ad Mountain, just so you know. admountain.com. Complete
That's
failure.
a good idea, though.
Creative, though. Yeah, wow.
Complete failure. I think part of it was we were early because eventually those ideas came out. Crowdsourcing your logos and stuff became really popular later.
Right.
But we just didn't even have the skills to build those tools. It was just
But
hard.
You had the idea of the way of the future.
So that was one of the early ideas. And eventually we landed on, we could build software. So we're going to figure out how to get paid to build software. And along the way, we built a couple games too. My brother and I, one time on a trip to Montana and back, had been working on this game we called Galactic Blast. It's literally like an arcade game for mobile, Android and iOS. And we had 500,000 downloads.
Wow.
At one point. So Never made any money on the
How
project.
do you make money, though?
Well, that was in the day when everybody paid 99 cents for apps, but you could never get any progress without giving it for free for a while. And by the time you got significant momentum and then made it paid, and then you just never get any people to pay for it. I think we made like $500 or something, or a couple $1,000.
Sure.
So I learned all these things along the way,
Yeah.
but eventually we landed on building software for other companies, which led to us realizing agriculture had a lot of needs, which led to us building the product.
Wow. That is quite the journey there.
Lots of learnings over the years.
Like, and through school though too. I mean, like, how interesting that.
Wow, that's why my grades were so bad.
Why? Because you were just focused on other.
I was distracted with building software in companies
Okay.
and trying to figure this out. I mean, I would skip most classes. I would only go during testing times or like really important days that they'd have, and a lot of times I wouldn't be at the class because I was working like 8 to 5.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, were you working another job?
We had the NDSU incubator,
Okay.
an office there. No, I was working full time on our own gig.
Oh.
Trying to make it work.
Okay.
And also was supposed to be in school, so my grades continued to plummet at that point. So.
But no other job then that you were.
After the internship that failed,
Yep.
that I got let go during a layoff, never had a job ever since. I've literally like I worked at Dairy Queen.
Okay.
I worked at a local True Value store. I worked as a park boy, we called it, but it was like mowing lawns for the city of Raleigh. Then I came to college, and I got an internship at Fargo Automation, which is they build machines to package medical equipment. I was building software there as an intern. Great mentor there too. And then Kevin Biffords was my boss, or the boss of the company. Now he's an ag tech entrepreneur as well.
Oh.
But he laid off 20-some people, and I was part of that. And that was literally the last real job I had.
The last real job. Now you're running the
Bushel's
company.
not a real job. That's different.
I would say it's a real job.
Yeah.
Was there any advice you were given? Like you said, he was kind of a mentor.
Well, I mean, some of these guys, like in the early days, I had just probably an annoying amount of ideas. I would guess I was kind of annoying. So, like, but they were never like discouraging. Kevin would tell me, "Oh, it's not a bad idea. How would you do this or that?" He'd ask questions, but he wouldn't say, "Oh, that's dumb."
That's good.
And there's a lot of people like, Greg Tavine. Greg says, there's enough negative Nancys in the world, however you want to say it, devil's advocates in the world. We don't need more of those.
Right.
We need more people who are willing to say, "Hey, I think you can do that."
Yeah.
And I had more of those people around me than I did others, and so that was helpful especially when you're early and you have no idea what you're doing is going to work. To have somebody not tell you you're an idiot, that's helpful. So.
Right. And you're such a visionary too that all these ideas are popping up. As I can relate, like I have way too many ideas too. But then to have people come alongside and be like, "Hey, I think that's great. How would you implement that?"
To ask good questions rather than to say, "Oh, that's don't."
You could never do that.
Yeah, you couldn't do that. That's the biggest motivator. When somebody tells me you can't do that, I'm like, I'm gonna prove you.
Watch
otherwise.
me take off my GPA on there. And,
Yeah.
No.
Like you can't get a job at Microsoft. Your GPA is too low. Delete. And
Yeah.
never came up, by the way. The GPA question never.
It never
came
does.
up.
It
No.
never does. They don't care.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever asked me since graduating what my GPA was.
Until this moment.
Until
Now,
now.
everyone, this is now
Usually I
open
bring it up.
information. 2 points.
I usually bring it up to encourage people who are struggling with their school stuff that it's possible you can be
Right.
fine
definitely.
regardless
No,
of what
I-
that number is.
I appreciate the vulnerability in
It's
that.
helpful, I think.
And I'm sure that has changed the way you even hire in your company culture.
Yeah, I mean, I literally one time, my co-founder and I had the same attitude about school. It's not a good one. So we had a guy come in to interview. We used to work at the old airport terminal in Fargo was our office, the top floor, which was really cool. We would watch airplanes flying out every day.
Wow.
Like we were literally on the tarmac, just you couldn't go out the door that way. And this guy comes in to interview, and he sits in. It was probably really awkward. So Ryan and I had, like, for some reason, we had these 2 old recliners in our office because they were just there, so we used them. So we'd be doing this interview, and like we'd be in recliners, and we had this person on a chair, and Ryan and I would do the double interview, which has got to be just insane.
Intimidating, yeah.
And either me or Ryan, I don't remember who did it, but the guy handed us a resume, and we threw it in the garbage bin.
Really? Didn't even want to look at it, huh?
We do use resumes now to filter down,
Sure.
whether people are going to be having the right skill set. But I mean, I've never asked anybody what their GPAs. I didn't know until more recently, like there's a bunch of like PhDs and like master's degrees and business degree people in our company. I just never even thought about it before.
Sure. Yeah. You're like, I never looked at all those letters. Yeah.
Like, oh, they've got a PhD in front of their name. What in the world?
Yeah.
I never asked them about
Yeah.
that.
So what's that in? Yeah.
One of our teammates getting a PhD in data science. I mean,
Really?
how cool is that? Or math. I think it's math, but she's a data person. Wow. So there's just really cool things like that going on.
Yeah. Interesting. So at what point, and it was Ryan, your co-founder then.
Yeah, Ryan Ragoose, yeah.
So you guys did this kind of together, I guess.
Oh, yeah. It's like 11 years together.
Yeah.
I've spent more time with him than my wife.
Sure. And probably still,
statement.
yeah.
We still do, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
At what point did you kind of make the pivot then to the agriculture?
So in 2016, we were finally getting back to, there was a point between 2013 and 15 where we were losing money.
Okay.
Because we're growing too fast. I didn't even know that was possible. But you could outgrow your cash needs is what was happening.
Oh.
And so we were going to 2 or 3 million in revenue, and we didn't have we were literally running out of money. We had used our loans, we had used our line of credit. We were like, holy crap, we're in a bad spot. So we actually got an angel investor locally, John Wanzik, actually to help us get out of that hole we were in, which was awesome for the time. And then in 2016, we said, we can't be experts in every one of these industries. We were pitching Sanford to build their app. We were doing manufacturing with Bobcat, still a customer today. We were doing some agriculture and other things. And it was just like, you can't speak all these languages and know all the things that you need to know to be an expert in these spaces.
Sure.
And so we said, let's focus. So we thought, at first when we tried to focus, we picked 5 industries. That's not really focusing. I thought I was focusing because we were doing everything.
From
Now
12
we're
or
doing only 5.
20 down to 5.
And they were like, wow, that's kind of dumb. Maybe we should do 3. And we picked 3. And agriculture was always in agriculture, manufacturing. And for some reason, we're thinking about education. And finally, we're
The education.
Even though you hate education.
yeah, we're trying to build
I guess they'll make
apps
the
for the
list.
university system. We built, can I tell you a crazy story about NDSU lunch? So the NDSU food halls, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 of them now at NDSU. But when we were in the early days of Myriad Mobile, which became Bushel, my brother and I built the NDSU dining hall app because the dining hall didn't have one. So how you found the menu is you'd have to go to this crappy website, NDSU, dig really deep on your phone, zooming around, trying to figure out what the menu was for the day. And we really cared about what the menu was. It didn't matter. And we built we called it NDSU dining or something like that. It was almost like might as well be sued for using NDSU's name. But we launched our own app for the dining hall. And you would literally pick which hall you're going to, and we were scraping the website automatically and putting the menu in. And so people could click on it and they'd see the menu. We had these cool pictures and stuff in it. And it was super popular to the point where we got almost a cease and desist. It was like, hey, you need to take this app off because we're doing this now at NDSU. Because our app was killing it. We actually pitched them to pay us. Well, just buy from us.
Yeah.
Why don't you take some of those books off of my,
Exactly. The books were expensive. Never got paid for that. But anyways, so in 2016, we said we need to focus better than 5 or maybe even 3 industries. And we looked and we said, agriculture is certainly under appreciated, underserved in technology. Every time we had an agriculture opportunity, we were winning against competitors because our competitors were on the coasts. I mean, they don't even know how to spell agriculture, let alone what it is.
And so you're immersed in it here.
And we're right here in Fargo. We know, all of us grew up around the farms, right? And so we picked agriculture. It's kind of obvious eventually when you look back in. It's it was inevitable we were going to do that. And then we changed the brand to Bushel when we built a product. So we first picked agriculture, then we decided we should build a product for this industry.
Sure.
And we realized that grain elevators and their farmers pretty inefficient. A lot of paperwork. Every time a farmer drops a load of grain off on their semi, they get this little paper receipt they're trying to keep track of, and the contracts and the signatures and stuff. And we said, well, we can fix that. And so that's what we started down the path to do. So
yeah, now how does that work then? It is you have lots of different products within this software.
And sometimes there are more features than products. We should be better about that ourselves. But the grain company says, hey, we could use this technology for our farms that we work with. And then we deploy a branded version of it to them. So Arthur Companies in North Dakota, or maybe CHS someday would be another example. We were launching ADM's app right now. So those the farmers who do business with those companies get this tool from them for free. So they log in with their phone number and they can see all their accounts. They can see like their contracts and their tickets and when they're getting paid and how much right from these tools. And the farmer gets to do it for free. Think about it like your banking app. When finally the banking apps came out and you didn't have to go to the ATM to get a receipt of how much your balance was or call in, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
It's the same experience. You can see everything. You can actually do actions and make transactions happen. And so that's what we've been working on for the last 5 years now, 2017. So
yeah, and you guys are just expanding too.
Yeah, we keep growing. We have over 200 companies and 60,000 farms using Bushel across the U.S. and Canada through their facilities that they work with. So,
or is it like 40% of?
Yeah, we're approaching 50% of the industry's volume. So that's using our tool. So
and that's the largest of any.
No question, we're number one player. Yeah.
Wow.
And we became the number one player quickly because we were kind of first to market. Now there's plenty of competition and kind of follow-alongs, but we're definitely winning. We have some of the biggest players. We have a lot of the small players and everywhere in between. And our job is to keep growing the value of the tool. So how can we do the next thing that removes paperwork or the next thing that makes it easy for the farmer? We finally made it so the farmer can sell their grain. So think about this. Imagine we're in the 90s and you want to buy some Tesla stock, which is the only stock you should be buying right now, by the way. You want to buy some Tesla stock, you would have had to call, not that they were on the market then, but you had to call your broker and you give them a PIN over the phone to verify it's you. And then they'd say, okay, sir, you've got $10,000 in your account. Okay, I want to buy $5,000 worth of Tesla stock. You do that all over the phone. And I think they send you like an invoice in the mail to like verify that you did what you did. That was how it was. Up until literally we started working on this problem, that was how farmers sell their grain. They call the facility between 7:30 and 5, and hopefully somebody answers the phone, and they say, I want to sell my grain today, or I want to put an offer in for the future, and they do that, and then they talk about it on the phone, and then they're done. They package up a paper contract that they printed, and they put it in the mail, and they send it to the farmer's mailbox, and then however many days later, the farmer gets it out, supposed to sign it and send it back. Less than 60% of the time that happens. Wow. And so that's ridiculous. I mean, that's like straight out of the 90s. And so we said, why can't the farmer sit on his app, put an offer in, and swipe his finger up and be done with it? Just like we do Robinhood or whatever trading tools you use today if you want to sell stocks in the market. So that's
you're buying a house online. You can
literally do that, right? You can find the price, everything. And so that's what we're building for what I'd call the broader grain industry. So the biggest part of agriculture in the U.S. is, oil, soybeans and corn and wheat and barley and those kind of things that we do in North Dakota. So.
Wow, what a great episode. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always so inspiring sharing these stories. To listen to the full podcast, go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Remember to like and subscribe. I would love if you could leave me a 5-star review. This helps us reach and engage with more people. Join me next week, and until then, make the most of your new day.